wonder how many of us have ever been lost before. Have you been lost? A new place, just checking some things out. You're trying to follow along. Maybe it was old school. You have the Rand McNally out, and as it's covering your entire dash, you're trying to figure out which direction you're going. It gets a little frustrating, and things can get a little heated. And sometimes you just get turned around. When I was new to Columbus, I wanted to see what businesses were downtown on 13th Street. And so as I'm making my way through that area, I'm kind of over by the post office, heading south, get to 13th Street, and I'm thinking, all right, I'll just hang a right. There's a lot of businesses down here. You know where this is going? That road goes one direction, and I was going the other. My windows are up, and I'm just kind of gawking at the businesses, trying to see what's there. And some guy's like, hey, hey. I'm like, I have no idea who this crazy man is. Why is he flagging me down? What's going on? He was really just there trying to tell me that I was going the wrong direction on a one-way street. I wish I could say that's the only time in my life that that's ever happened. I wish I could say that I won't repeat that mistake again. I probably won't on 13th. But it's not just in the way that we drive around. We do that in our lives as well. We think that we're going the right direction. We think that there's nothing wrong with what we're doing. And we're pursuing something that in our mind should work out in a specific way, but the reality is we're going about it the wrong way. We're going the wrong way on a one-way street, and it's just going to lead to hurt. It's going to lead to damage. It's not good. Last week we got to celebrate 1 year of ministry at Connection Christian Church. It was a great celebration. It was a great time to get together and to see what God is getting ready to do in the next year is amazing. And through this 1 year of ministry, just some of the markers along the road. We moved in, we started meeting with a few families that we got connected with in the area, and so a small group of us had a Bible study. And then in May, we started to get together and we started to do this evening church thing. And we had about 25 of us max. And then in June, we started to move over to Sunday mornings, and we started to pick up a little bit of speed, and we were in the mid-20s range more consistently. And then we moved to Lost Creek Elementary School, and then we have 34 people. We're like, woo, we grew. Wow, this is a big space. We need to grow a lot more. How's this going to work? We just kept building into the grand opening last year of 130 people, 30 of which came in from out of town to support us. We can't really count them, but we do anyway because they were a great help. But guys, the amount of lives that have been impacted through the ministry of Connection Christian Church in the course of a year is tremendous. If for whatever reason God took this church away from us, this body of believers away from us, we would have still made a huge kingdom impact in the course of a year. And it's tremendous to think about that. So all the lives that have been impacted, all the people who have been brought back to God through the ministry of Connection Christian Church, maybe for the first time, maybe for the 100th time. Because as we know, life gets difficult. We end up at some dead ends. We have to make some U-turns. The one-way street sometimes is headed the wrong way. We need to get ourselves turned back around and get back on the right course. And so chances are that's probably you in one way, shape, or form, that you were brought to God for the first time, or you were brought to God again. And maybe, like me and like most of us, it's an ongoing cycle. Like you're following God and you got your eyes fixed on God, and then you get busy and you get to doing your own thing, and you get bogged down in stuff and what you want, what your priorities are, and you take your eyes off of Jesus and you begin to wander. And so it's like on a regular basis, you just need to be brought back to God. I want you to take a moment to look at 3 stories of people who found themselves away from God, but yet were brought back to them, and see if maybe something here doesn't resonate with you.
My father was an alcoholic, so I grew up in that type of a home. Once I became of age, drinking was just natural. I saw it, I did it, participated in it, got heavy into it. My first marriage was not very successful, and it ended fairly soon. I had a daughter with my first wife, and I was very into being a daddy. Having my daughter gone was very, very difficult. And it was probably at that time, as far as from a drinking standpoint, it got a lot heavier. I got married again, got into the same habits, same routine. My first marriage lasted 5 years. I had a daughter, got divorced. My second marriage lasted 5 years. I had a daughter, got divorced. Didn't really learn from my experiences. It was more a day-to-day, I want to feel good today, however that was. Alcohol, sex, success at work. There was no real foundation of anything significant that I was searching for. That was rock bottom for me. I've had 2 failed marriages in 10 years, 2 daughters that are no longer with me on a day-to-day basis. And I'm by myself at this point.
My journey started when I was 2 years old, and my mom and my dad divorced. And we had lived with my grandmother for a long time, and she had then at the time gave us an ultimatum to stay with her or to leave. And my grandmother and I did not have a good relationship. My mother and my grandmother did not have a good relationship. I met my ex-husband when I was a junior. It was great in the beginning. I didn't really know who I was though at 16, 17 years old to be in love or even know what it meant. It just, something was missing, but I just was so in the moment and wanted to get married and the whole fairy tale that I kind of pushed those feelings aside. Once we had my daughter, it definitely took a turn for the worse. His behavior changed and my behavior changed, and I wanted out about a year after. And so I stuck with it for a little bit longer, and we went to therapy. And then once I found out I was pregnant with my son, I felt like I was just stuck. I have 2 kids, and I definitely don't want to be a single mom with 2 kids. So I knew something had to change, and I just kind of went the wrong way to make that change. I had an affair, and then on Father's Day weekend, I had another affair. And the man that I had an affair with ended up being my boyfriend for a few years after me and my ex-husband separated. I think from the beginning of being with a grandmother that treated me like a piece of crap to now being in a relationship that I'm just destroyed and slept with multiple men, but there was no God. And if he was there, he was not a nice person.
I grew up in a Christian home with 2 parents who also grew up in Christian families. When I was young, about 7, my parents moved to a camp in Central Illinois, a Christian youth camp. And that was a really, really cool way to grow up, just surrounded by youth groups and Christian kids. And coupled with that, I also grew up in the church, surrounded by a family that didn't just believe it, but they lived it. For me, growing up, the key word, I think, in my family would be acceptance. I didn't find that out till later, that was a key word, but it was exactly what I knew growing up. No matter what I did, I would always be loved. Exactly as I am in any moment. I had a faith, I saw how it played out in my family's lives, but I did not have a direction. And I did not have a purpose that I felt like I was being pulled towards or called to, just kind of searching, longing for a fulfillment that it seemed like everybody else in my family had, and I just hadn't found yet.
So 3 stories of 3 different people. You probably, as you were listening to that, maybe connected with one of them, maybe more than another. You're like, wow, that's maybe a little piece of who I am, and regardless of whether that was Bryce or Melissa or Jake and their stories, I kind of want to know, what's your story? Where are you at in the journey? Where has God brought you to this point, and what are you struggling with? The fears and some of the anxiety that you bring to the table. I mean, maybe you're going through the motions and you're doing this church thing, but you still really haven't connected with who God is. It hasn't really resonated with you. It hasn't become a relationship piece. And maybe you just You just got to a point where you realized that you were longing for something more. And throughout this series, we're going to be talking about 5 different awakenings. And this first one is the awakening to longing. Longing is like this quest for meaning, like there's got to be something more. Have you ever gotten to that point in life? You're going through these steps and you're doing these things, and maybe you're doing what everybody else tells you that you need to do. You're pursuing the American dream. You're making yourself happy. You're living for number 1. That's you. And someplace in there, you hit rock bottom, you hit the dead end, and you go, there's got to be something more. And we're going to try our little hand in kind of a karaoke type of an illustration. So you have to work with me. My voice is bad, yours may be bad, but you have to carry the tune, all right? So it's kind of the name of that tune, but I'm going to start off the song and I want you to finish that phrase, okay? So we got 3 of these. Let's see if you can follow along. This is an audible thing, okay? This isn't just work it in your mind, okay? The more of us that do this, the better. Okay, here we go. Number 1. You can't always get... You heathens. I still haven't found... Maybe I should put some shades on for that. Looking for love. That's all you got? That's all I get. All right. You know, these songs each speak to kind of a different longing that we have. The first longing is the longing for love. You can't always get what you want. I still haven't found what I'm looking for. Looking for love in all the wrong places. I want you to take a stab at this. There is a record set for the most marriages. You don't have to guess the name, but just throw out some numbers for me. Like what number do you think somebody has been married the most?
Elizabeth Taylor.
What's that, 10?
Elizabeth Taylor.
No, it's not a name, but a number.
Yeah,
10? 12? 23?
25.
700. He's going back to Solomon. We're talking modern day stuff. We're not going to go too deep into the Bible side of things. I mean, this is church, right? So anyway, 29 times Glenn Wolfe was married. The longest of which was 7 years, and the shortest, 19 days. 19 days. It's crazy. But you know what's even crazier? Glenn Wolfe is a Baptist minister. Baptist minister married 29 times. But why is it that he kept on going? Like, how many failed marriages would it take before you just walked away? I'm done. You know, forget this, and you move on. How many times would you have to do that? Apparently not enough. And there was still this deep longing to be loved. I think in my time as a pastor, I've still seen this longing in people's lives. Somewhere deep in the core of each of us is this need to be loved by somebody else, to want somebody else to pay us special attention, to be there to help us and to see us through life. And I've seen it through multiple people where they're just trying this and that, and they're trying everything that they can to fill these voids. And this awakening to love, they're trying to find a relationship that will fit that. They're trying to find a guy or a gal that will meet that need. Maybe they're trying multiple guys and gals to try to meet that need. And maybe it's online and maybe it's face-to-face. But they're trying to do all these things to meet a need that was given by God, placed in the very core of who they are. Why do we keep trying? We're honest, relationships are hard. They take a lot of work. How many of you are married? How many people say marriage takes a lot of work? Did you see any hands go down? Marriage takes work. Relationships take work. You have to invest. We're looking for love. The second longing that we have is a longing for purpose. We want what we do to count for something. Here's another interactive piece for you. As kids have been going to school, some people just take a picture of their kids, first day of school, tag it on Facebook. Other people, they like make this nice little plaque for their kids. You've seen it, like going into whatever grade, it's the second grade. And so you can kind of compare them through the years. And some people go through that extra work of at this stage in life, they want to be X when they grow up. Have you seen those? Like, think back to your childhood. What did you want to be when you grew up? Anybody want to share? What did you want to be when you grew up? An astronaut. A professional wrestler. An artist? Baseball player?
Rock star. Rock star.
A rock star?
Yeah. It's not your older.
Have the surgically implanted tongue? We have this desire, this longing for meaning, for purpose. And we want what we do to count. But why would we do that as a kid? Like, we don't need money, right? How many of you would quit your job today if you didn't need the paycheck? There's some of you there. So as a kid, you didn't need the paycheck. Mom and dad were footing the bill. Right? You didn't need to run off and do that 9-to-5 thing. You had plenty of toys and books to keep you entertained, your buddies in the neighborhood. But there's still this desire, something inside of you that wants to accomplish something. Here's the third longing. I've alluded to it a couple times. It's this longing for meaning. Chances are that you have a child in your life that has a favorite question. It's a really simple question. Matter of fact, it's only got 3 letters. And they ask it constantly. Why? And they put it before everything. Why are you doing that? Why did you just wash the dishes? Why did you do the fork first? Why did the chicken cross the road? All sorts of why questions, and we lay them out. But let's be honest, don't we each have this why question burning a hole inside of our lives? We have this longing for meaning. We want to know why. And probably all of us have went through enough pain. We've had enough struggles. We get to a point where we're face to face with God and we go, why? Why did you allow this to happen? Why did that person get hurt? Why did this marriage not succeed? Why is this money not there? We get those burning holes inside of us, and so we have these 3 longings: a longing to be loved, and a longing to have purpose, and a longing for meaning. We want to know more. And there's a story. It's found in Luke chapter 15, and Jesus is telling it to his disciples, his followers. It's about somebody else who had these same kind of longings, these same kind of quests. They just couldn't find that thing to quench what it was that they were looking for. The story was read to you this morning. We're going to take a look at it again. It's the story we might know as the prodigal son. There was a man who had 2 sons. And the younger of them said to his father, "Father, give me the share of property that's coming to me." Pause for a second. Maybe you've heard this before, but if not, I want to bring you up to speed. In that culture, at that time, when your father passed away and you were a son, you got a portion of the inheritance. You could do with it what you wanted. But, like in this situation, this younger of the 2 sons go into Dad and say, "Hey, Dad, give me what's coming to me. What's coming my way? I want it now." You're basically saying, "Dad, you're as good as dead to me. I want nothing to do with you. I've got a better plan, a better way of living, a better way to do this, and I'm going to find love, and I'm going to find purpose, and I'm going to find meaning, and I'm going to do it on my own. Just give me my check, let me go." The reality is, I think that we've all been there. Like, we can throw this guy under the bus, and we're like, dude, what's up with this man? But somewhere inside of us, especially as we're hitting that middle school, high school age, and even into college, and maybe some of you are still battling this, you just want to rebel against everything that's there, every structure that's put in place to help you, because you think you can do it better on your own. You think if you just had the cash in hand, you would make a better choice, a better decision, and suddenly you'd be able to get what you want, and you'd be able to get what you deserve. Ever hear those words? Or maybe a commercial comes across on TV and it says, you deserve this. That nice BMW with a red bow tie, I mean, you deserve this. The reality is now, if we're really going to be sincere about this, our mistakes have led us to a dead end, the wrong direction, and we're going off the cliff. We're headed to a certain death, and what we deserve is that death because of the choices we've made. We've screwed things up. But God wants to get us back on track. He wants to draw us back to Him. And so let's continue reading this story. In Luke chapter 15, and he divided his property between them. That's the father divvying it up with his kids. And not many days later, the younger son gathered all of his stuff, all that he had, and he took a journey into a far-off country. We don't know which one, we don't know which direction. All we know is that he got his stuff and he left. He loaded his car, his donkey, and he headed out. Greener pastures away. There's new adventures ahead, and this is going to be fantastic. And there he squandered his property in reckless living. It would be interesting to see, like, if you could put in quotes, like, what's reckless living? What's that look like? Let's put it in our context today. Who knows? Maybe you run off to the big city. You're enjoying the wildlife. The nightlife is hopping. The clubs are going till late in the morning. The lights are going, the bass is thumping, alcohol is available, women or men galore, whatever you prefer. And so you're doing this wild living, and you're looking for love, and you're searching out these relationships, and you're looking for purpose. And you think, you know, hey, I got a fat wallet right now, and if I just buy these guys off, if I buy them drinks, if I get them stuff, certainly I will have a purpose. And I will be able to fit in. I will be good enough. But you know, all those things, they just don't quite fit those needs. They don't fit those longings that we have inside of us. And when he had spent everything, I'm guessing in wild living, it didn't include get a job, be responsible. I can remember college. I had to pay my own way through college for the most part, but I didn't know what money was. Money for me was, if it's in my pocket, it's free to spend. And so if I want to go do something, I just, hey, I got cash, let's go do it. Let's think, there's a bill at the end of the month. Who's going to pay that? You kind of start to run out. You run on empty, and then pretty soon soccer season's over, it's like, I need to get a job. Right? Somebody is going to have to pay these bills. So he spent all that he had. He squandered it on reckless living. And when he had spent everything, a severe famine arose in that country, and he began to be in need. Famine is like they're without food, like it's not raining, crops aren't growing, stink, there's nothing. What am I going to do? And so he went and hired himself out. He got a job. But the job was with one of the citizens of the country, and he went to the field and he fed the pigs, Jewish man, feeding these unclean, I'm not Jewish, pigs are not clean, feeding these pigs this slop. And he got to a point where he's like, these pigs are eating better than I am. Can you imagine yourself getting to a point of total depravity where you're wanting to get down on your knees and pick up some of the slop from the tray in front of the pigs to get your next meal? So he went from being number 2 in his dad's house to living wildly, trying to find purpose and meaning and love, to want to eat like the pigs. Somewhere in there, something clicked. Maybe the best thought that the man had to this point, you know what, my dad's slaves, the hired hands, they eat better than I eat. If I could just go apologize to my dad, say I'm sorry, I'll get on my knees and beg him, and he'll give me a job, and I can work for him, and he'll take care of my basic needs. Again, we could throw this guy under the bus, and we can go, man, what an idiot. Like, who would surrender that? And why in the world would you go spend your money there? I'm not going to ask for a show of hands. How many of us have spent money frivolously? How many of us got that credit card offer in the mail, and we finally decided we had cash in hand? And when the minimum payment of $30 came in the mail, we thought, if I can just pay this $30 a month, I'm going to work myself out of a hole. We realized that was a very bad choice. And that $30 doesn't even pay the interest on the money that I've just used. We've taken out a loan for a vehicle or a house that we can't afford. Then we get ourselves working really hard, and we're taking on extra jobs, and we have extra commitments because we made a boneheaded choice one time. We've been there. We've searched out relationships thinking that would just scratch our itch. This person would meet my needs and they would make me feel special. And then we realize that person is just as selfish and arrogant as I am. And they have sin issues. And when the two of us come together, that's not always fun, and it takes work. It struggles. So this guy, he had some issues. He set off for that distant country. He squandered all that he had. Still no answers. If you haven't figured it out yet, we're in this series called Finding Your Way Back to God. And I hope that over this next 4 weeks that you would think about who in your life is kind of searching. They have this longing. They're looking for something more, something else, something to meet this need. Who can I invite back? And maybe that they, on the course of this journey, will find God. And in finding God, they would find a God who loves them regardless of who they are or what they've done. That they would find purpose. A purpose that surpasses what you do in a career. A purpose that surpasses how much money you make or the wrong choices that you've made along the way. And a purpose that says you are a loved child of God. And when you were at your worst, I gave my best. He came down as this pure, spotless lamb. And he took your place on that altar. And his blood was shed on your behalf so that you could have new life and new opportunities. Who is that person for you? There was a 17th century mathematician. I'm going to show a quote from him on the board. Blaise Pascal. Got it there? Make a bet that there is a God who loves you. And if you're right, you have everything to gain. And if you're wrong, you have nothing to lose. Make a bet that God is real. Read that again to yourself for a second. So this guy, he grew up in kind of a Christian home, but it was just superficial, his relationship with God, and he really didn't get it till later in life. And now he's presenting his students with this same quote. Guys, you're going through life and you have these longings and you're looking for purpose and love and meaning. But I want you to make a bet. Bet that there's a God who loves you. Because if there is, you have everything to gain. But if there's not, you have nothing to lose. Make a bet that God is real. So maybe this is you. Maybe you're on this journey and you need to step it up and pray a prayer. And I'm going to encourage you. Here's the prayer I want you to pray if this is you and this is where you're at. God, if you're real, make yourself real to me. If If you're new to this church thing, if you're new to this relationship with God thing, if you've been going through the motions for years and you just need to be in the presence of God and you don't know what to say or how to say it, you're searching for love and meaning and purpose, you're longing, you know that there just has to be something more. Can you pause over this next week and at least once each day say, God, if you're real, make yourself real to me. Ask God to show up. You have everything to gain and nothing to lose. Father, we thank you for being a God who loves us and who cares for us, who's going to meet our needs when we've squandered everything. I thank you so much because I know I've hit dead ends. I've had struggles. I still have struggles. And I know there's times Satan, he's putting doubts in my head, and there's fears and there's struggles, and I know I'm not the only one. This room has got all sorts of people who are dealing with doubts and fears and frustrations, who are still longing for something more, longing for a purpose. Father, may we find it in you. Help us as we pursue you on a regular basis. Just as this young man who squandered everything, kind of hit the bottom of the barrel and he turned back to his father. Father, may we turn back to you. Help us to continually pursue you in word and in gathering with your people and in growing through these relationships in small group ministry and learning what this unconditional love of yours is, that you would give everything just for us. And as we find a purpose and a meaning in what we do and the way that we serve here at the church and in the community, Father, may it be for your glory. We pray this in Jesus' name.